Hey guys, oh my god, I'm like flipping out right now. Like I just finished watching the finale episode and that ending was crazy. Like I just want to talk about the ending like right now. Like that's how insane it was. Like, oh my goodness, like it was just like the last, I don't even know how many minutes, maybe 1, 2, 3 minutes. And I was like, oh my god, like this is the first show in like a long time that I've just like, I got up off the couch. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. It was so intense. It was a really good episode. They did a great job. This was a very good season finale. And I am so happy that they have been renewed for another season. All right, so this was episode 13. It was We Are Grounders Part 2, the season finale of the 100. I cannot stress how much this was just so epic. So many great one-liners. I know I won't even be able to remember them all, but let's get into the recap. All right, so so it's always like, the arc and then there is the ground. There was only a little bit of the arc, but it was good. The arc was good. So I might just kind of talk about it as it happened because like there's a point with the arc and what's happening with them kind of like pauses everyone else there. And if I remember where that happened, I'll go ahead and kind of put that there. But so we start off on Earth and like I forgot to mention in the last episode and I had to put like a little annotation, but Raven got shot in the other episode when Murphy was all shooting down on the floor. And so Clark had the knife and I guess I can't think of the right word, but basically trying to close up the wound and hope that she heals. And they're all sitting in there. Oh yes, the scene was so intense. I remember the first scene was so good. Bellamy is asking them, tell me a little bit more about the Reapers. And he's like, is there a way that we can use this? He's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And Clark is like, no. I don't even know what you're talking about, but we're not going to use it. And, you can still see the tension between them about should we stay or should we go? But basically it turns down to we're going to go. Everyone packs up, gets ready to go, and, they're just talking. It's like slow-mo. The music's so intense. Like the music was so on point this episode. So they leave out, and they don't even get that far out of the gate. And this, just a miscellaneous character was like, there's a little small talk about I can't wait till we get to the shore, yada, yada, yada. And then like, like one of those like ninja star type things, like bam, right in the middle of this poor guy's head. And it's just chaos. Everybody's like, what in the world? They're going crazy. And they all run back into the base. And so Octavia, Finn, Clark, and Bellamy, they're all like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And Finn is like, well, Octavia says, well, these are just the scouts. We can still move. We can still do this. And Clark's kind of like, I don't know. Finn is like, yeah, let's go. Bellamy is like, they're looking to you for answers. And Clark, she's thinking, well, Lincoln told us to get home before the scouters. There could be more. Let's not risk it. Bellamy, you got your fight. And Bellamy is like, okay, I got my fight. He starts, telling everybody, gunners, get here, this and that and that. And then Octavia's running with like a sword and he's like, what are you doing? You're not a gunner. And she's like, oh, I know, I'm a grounder like you said, because he had said some little snippy comment to her. And she has Lincoln's old like samurai type sword. And so she's going to go out there and fight in the perimeter. Then they have like this little cool scene where Bellamy is explaining his little war plan to Finn and Clark. And I thought that scene was just really awesome. Like how he had everything set up and he's like, so we've got mines here, we've got gunners here. And Clark is like, but what if they get through the gate? And Raven's basically like, well, we just hope and pray that they don't. And Finn's like, oh, you had this thing before. And, there's like a lot of tension between Finn and Bellamy. It's like, even though I know it's not over Clark, you just really want it to be like they're fighting over Clark. But there's just, tension there, two kind of alpha males bumping heads on what we should do. But so it comes up about all the fuel underneath of the ground and Clark's looking at the thing, and she's looking at the little setup that he has, a little fake model of their base. And she's like, it can't be that easy. And she's like, you said there was a lot of fuel under there to make bombs. And she's like, yeah, enough to make 100 bombs. So she's like, I'm not trying to make a bomb. I'm trying to do a launch off. And basically, if they launch off, you know, all of the fire is just going to be like a ring of fire. Barbecue grounders. And then Raven's like, yeah, you give me enough time and I'll cook them real good. I was like, oh my gosh, I was just dying. Like, that was like, I think before even the first commercial break, just so many good little lines. I love that. A little bit on the arc. Basically, Jaha is explaining to them, Jaha and I can't remember the technician, I call him the technician, but the engineer, whatever guy, he's explaining to them the rundown on how it will go. I got this pen in my hand, I don't know. He's explaining to them the rundown on how it's going to be. The arc is going to break off into, I think, what is it, 12 or 5 stations? And then some stations, he said, may blow up, some may not. And they're all going to come plummeting down to the earth. And I guess there's a certain time frame that they have to do this so that they can be close to where the 100 landed. And everyone's like, you know, kind of abreast. And then Jaha's like, hey guys, we knew this wasn't going to be easy and there were going to be risks. And so they all just basically get loaded in the ark and they get prepared to go down, knowing that someone may die. When they're about to launch off, like, this isn't, I mean, I don't remember like exactly when this happened in the timeline of the show, but when they're about to do the launch off, like, it fails. And they're like, oh my goodness, we're going to have to do manual launch off. That basically means someone's going to have to go to the control room and sacrifice themselves. This was like so sad. This is when like everything just got so sad. I was like, oh my God, the feels. It was really sad. Kane volunteers and Abby's like, no. And then like, I've already been kind of shipping Abby and Kane, but now I was just totally like, oh my gosh. Kane is like, with salvation comes with a price. And so it's just like, he's going to be the one to sacrifice himself. And so he gets up, he starts shaking everybody's hand. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Then all of a sudden they launch. All of the stations break apart. And it was Jaha. Oh my gosh. Like, I feel so bad last episode. I was like, one of these times you're going to sacrifice yourself and die. Like, I felt so bad. Like, he did it. Like, he finally got to make the sacrifice and he launched them off and he's going to stay on the leftover little ring in space. And they said that he only has probably about a week's worth left of oxygen. All right, so back on the ground, Raven's injured, but she's trying to talk Clark into what she needs to do to create, or I don't know what the technical thing, but basically to be able to launch the rockets, the engine starter or something. And they're down there talking and Clark is like, oh my gosh. Yeah, Finn's down there with her. And then Raven's like, I can't feel my legs. And they're like, what? So they come up there and they look at her back and it's like all blue and stuff. And they said, Clark is like, the bullet's in your spine and you're bleeding internally. Wow. It was like a death sentence just right there. And Finn is like, but wait, no, there's the medicines that Lincoln had. Can it slow down the bleeding? And I mean, I still don't understand, like, slowing down the bleeding for what? Maybe until they can operate or find some way to save her. And so, you know, she's like, don't save me. And then don't do this. I can't allow you to risk yourself. Because he's going to go to the Lincoln's cave, I believe, Lincoln's house to find the medicine. And she's like, I can't let you risk yourself. And he's like, well, how about I can't risk everybody else? We need you alive in order to get this done. And, you know, it's just kind of sad. And so he's going to go. And Clark is like, pulls him aside, I can't lose you again. And I'm like, Clark, come on now. The guy confessed his love for you last episode and you were like, I just can't. Now she's all like, oh, I can't lose you. And I was like, blah, whatever. But, you know, like at the same time, I'm like, dang, that's kind of rude because Raven's just sitting there all, you know, stabbed up on the floor, just watching them. And he's like, oh, you won't lose me. I'll be back. And so he runs off. And then, you know, just a sad moment for Raven. And then, you know, she kind of just sits there while Clark is still working. And she's like, you know, I used to always be picked first, because she started talking about how Clark didn't really know what she was doing. And she's like, oh, finally something you're not good at, Clark, you know. And she started talking about how she was always picked first, and, you know, pretty much just now how Finn didn't pick her. She's like, you know, how the hell did I get here? And then, you know, Clark gives her like the booby prize. Oh, well, I'd pick you first. I'm like that really made the girl feel better. All right, so pretty much after that, like, we see a scene of Finn looking in the page, and guess who he finds? Like, he finds Lincoln. I was like, yes, Lincoln is okay. So Lincoln, you know, helps him find the medicine. He's like, what are you doing? I told you guys to leave, blah, blah, blah. And then he just basically tells him, like, we didn't have enough time. War's happening. It's going crazy. And everyone's still there. And, you know, Lincoln's mainly thinking about Octavia. Oh, my goodness. There is a major part that I forgot to mention. I thought about this because Finn had the walkie-talkies with them. So the walkie-talkies is how they've been communicating. Right. So the grounders, you know how they have the war drums and everything, and they get to the base, they're like doing like some kind of like, you know, like ninja stuff, like running like across. Basically, like, I knew it before they even said it, that they were basically trying to get them to waste their bullets, but they're running all fast and they're wasting bullets. And then they see the mines that they had planted on, I think the West End or whatever, and they're getting, some of the grounders are getting blown up by the mines, and they're talking on the walkie-talkies. And then it shows the grounders, Tristan with the walkie-talkie, and he's like, just stabbed Murphy, got Murphy tied to a tree, and he just stabs him. That's for not telling us about the mines or whatever. So I don't know if this means Murphy was with them. How the heck did Murphy still have that walkie-talkie from that whole situation? I don't know. That was a little bit far-fetched for me. I mean, I guess I don't know if we'll ever find out if Murphy was actually working with them, but they did have him. They tortured him again, or got whatever information, because he looked beat up again. But it's just really hard to tell. But they had the walkie-talkies, so they had been listening to everything they said. So that was kind of like, you know, messing up the plan. But so back to where I was, Lincoln and Finn, because Lincoln sees that he had the walkie-talkie or something, but whatever. So it's chaos going over the walkie-talkies. Oh, this, that, or, you know, just crazy stuff. And Lincoln's like, I'm going back with you. And then Finn is like, I have a really bad idea. How far would the Reapers chase me? He's like, oh, they would have still been chasing me if I guess he didn't hide or something. And basically we know that, you know, Finn goes, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So we know they're about to bring the Reapers to the base camp. At the base camp, like, it's crazy. Like, you know, they're fighting, they're finally shooting, because after the walkie-talkie situation, they decide they're just gonna go and attack. And so they're shooting and they're trying to hold them off as much as they can. Bellamy is out there, and he almost like gets killed by a grounder. Like, he's getting choked out by a grounder, and Octavia comes in with her sword and, you know, stabs the grounder and basically saves him. She's like, yeah, tell me, I know you want one. And then she gets shot by an arrow, and it was so dark, it was hard for me to tell, but I think the arrow was in her leg. Like, I think she can't walk. And so Bellamy, you know, he grabs her and he has her like at a tree, because they can't really get to the base with her being injured. And then, like, in the middle of like all of the chaos, like, all of a sudden everything freezes, because they see, like, they kind of like hear an explosion, but it's basically the arc coming into the Earth's atmosphere and falling down. And someone like, is that from the arc? And Clark is like, no, that is the arc. And everyone's just in shock, like, what's happening? And Tristan and Anya, there's like, oh, reinforcements. And Tristan's like, oh, but by the time they'll get here, everyone will be dead. And they still continue on with the fighting. And he's about to be like, take down the gate. And they're still shooting, and they want, you know, some of the 100 are like, we need to close the gate. But she's like, but wait, there's still people who aren't there yet. And then Finn comes in, and we don't see Lincoln, because this is such a beautiful scene. Lincoln finds Bellamy with Octavia, and Lincoln is like, I can save her, but she has to come with me. And Bellamy finally gives him the blessing. He's like, take her. And like, though Bellamy and Octavia finally got to make their peace, he was like, when I told you my life ended when you were born, I was wrong. My life didn't start until then, and I need you to live, and don't worry, I got this. And I thought it was just a really good scene between a brother and sister, and Lincoln and Octavia reunite again. So that was a really good scene. And Lincoln takes Octavia, and they go off into the woods. Bellamy comes back into the base, and Finn and Clark are there, and they see Bellamy, but I don't know, Bellamy grabs a gun, like, I don't know if the gun worked, but he's basically trying to fight Tristan, who's, because the grounders are like, they've come into the gates, and it's just fighting, and the 100, they're trying to get into the drop ship for safety, and, and then Bellamy is fighting Tristan, and it looks like Tristan's going to kill Bellamy. And then he's like, oh no, he's going to save him. He grabs a gun, he shoots at him, and I don't know, it's just chaos. I don't know what happened. They both get beat up, knocked down, and Clark is looking like, oh my gosh, what do I do? There's chaos everywhere. And they're like, other people are like, we have to close this gate. And she looks at Finn, and Finn looks at her, and he basically gives her the okay, like, close the gate, go on without me. And she goes in, and you could just see the look on her face, like, there's Bellamy and Finn out there, and you're about to close the gate on them. We don't know if they're dead or alive. Like, that's it. We don't know if they're dead or alive. I don't know if we're supposed to think they're dead. I don't know. And I'm really upset. Like, we know they both can't be dead. And I don't think either one of them are dead, but just the fact that they just left us like that for a whole summer until like fall, I think, when the show comes back, not knowing if they're dead or alive. But she goes in, she pulls the lever or whatever to close the gates, and Anya is all like Rambo-ish, and she like jumps into the gate, and she's got her swords out. And Jasper, he ended up having to be the one to fix the wires and everything, to do the ignition, and because Raven passed out. But they gave her the medicine once Finn arrived, so don't worry about Raven. But so Jasper does a little thing, and it doesn't start at first. But Clark still, looks at Anya and says, oh, you can't win this or whatever. And then she's still like, she's going to fight. And everybody just starts beating her down. And it's pretty crazy. And Clark's like, no, we aren't the grounders. We're not going to kill her, because people are like, oh, she deserves to die and everything. But she stops them from killing her. And Jasper finally realizes that they need some kind of current. And he finds a current, like the light from like their lamp or some lantern, and he gets it to work, and oh my gosh, it's like a big fire. Like literally when the fire comes out, and like literally they're burnt down to bones. Like the grounders are burnt to bones and ashes. Like it just killed them all, because when they walk outside, it's just bones and everything. But before they walk out, we go back and we see on the ark, we see Jaha, and he's trying to get in contact with the pieces of the ark that have went to Earth. And he gets in contact with Abby, so we know they survived. Abby and Kane and the technician were all on the same station of the ark. So we know that they made it down there safely. And then, oh, it was so beautiful. Abby's talking to Jaha. She's like, you should be here. And she goes up out of the ark, and she sees like Earth for the first time, and she's like, it's everything I dreamed of. Because Jaha's like, tell me what it's like. And I'm not gonna lie, I teared up. I felt so bad for Jaha. And she's like, the air is so sweet, it's so green, and there's water, and it was just really sad. And then Kane comes up there with her, and I'm like, Kane and Abby. I totally ship Kane and Abby now. But they look and they see smoke, and she thinks that it's smoke from another ark station. I'm hoping that it was the smoke of the camp, that maybe they really are that close to camp because, you know, they just had the big explosion. But we don't know. But Jaha's like, okay, go find our people, go do what you have to do. And then Jaha, he goes, he gets his bottle of, what was it, scotch or something, and he sits down at a window looking at Earth, and he's like, well, this'll have to do. And he just sits there and has a drink, and I teared up. I was like, Jaha, man, I'm sorry it has to be like this, like, because I don't think there's another way to save Jaha. I don't know though. There might be another way. After the ending, there might be another way. So the ending pretty much starts here. Clark and all of them, they all come out of the ship. They've got, what's her name? Anya tied up and everything. And they see all of the bones and ashes. And Clark looks down where Finn and Bellamy, and she's looking sad because I guess she thinks that those bones are them. Then all of a sudden, red smoke cans are like thrown in there, and everybody starts like, so it's like some kind of gas. Everybody starts coughing and choking, and they're like, what the heck is happening? And Anya's like, mountain men. And I'm like, mountain men. I knew it. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch my other video when Lincoln brought up the mountain men, but I'm pretty sure I said, I hope the mountain men have some technology. In fact, I knew it. I knew they had technology, and I knew that's what Monty had saw. Remember when Monty was talking about the interference right before he got kidnapped? Monty was kidnapped. But so all of a sudden you see the lasers and the guns and people are coming in, and then they got gas masks and stuff, and they point one at Clark, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So these guys, they got technology. After that, oh my God, it was just so crazy. It's so intense. Clark wakes up and like everybody passes out from the gas or whatever. Clark wakes up in a white room, like a white medical room. She has an IV. There's Van Gogh or somebody, I can't think of it, but there's like a famous painting in there, you know, like this is a hospital, you know, like, and she's like, where the hell am I? Like, that's the look she has. And then she looks out, like, you know how they had like a little round window. She looks out her little window, and across the room. No. This was okay. Before she looks out the window, like they show like a camera, like the camera view of the camera watching. And the thing that I noticed about the camera is that it said C. Griffin at the bottom. How do they know who she is? How do the mountain men know who she is? I don't know. I'm wondering, is there like some kind of like, I mean, like I never got that there was like a conspiracy theory on the Ark. Like maybe like somehow they knew everybody on the Ark. You know, they were in communication. I don't know, but they knew who she was. It said C. Griffin on there. And I'm like, that one struck me as like really, really interesting. But so she looks out the little window, and it's Monty. I'm like, Monty, you're alive. Yes, Monty's alive. And he's looking, and she's like, Monty. And it's like so scary. And then she looks, and it was the name of that area, but basically they're in a quarantine zone. So I don't know if they think they got radiation or whatever, but they're quarantined. And that's the end. That is the end. I was like, oh my gosh. So the mountain men, who are they? I mean, it's what I thought. Like, there was no way that everybody went to this tribal way of, you know, of living. There is a society with technology, you know, modern day medicine, clean, sterile living, and they have them in quarantine, and they had weapons, lasers, everything. So the mountain men, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to expect. Like, guys, okay, this is pretty much like the end of the video, you know. I mean, that's what happened. I don't think I left anything out. What do you guys think is gonna happen? Like, I mean, just in the comments, please write. I know you guys are there. I mean, I see the views in the videos. Come on, talk to me. Like, what do you think of this episode? Do you think Finn and Bellamy are dead, or do the mountain men have them? What's gonna happen with Lincoln Octavia? What is she gonna do when she finds out that the mountain men came and took everybody? Is the Abby and them, are they gonna come to the camp and find it empty because now they've been taken? I mean, like, this is crazy. Like, who are the mountain men? How is it that they have technology, but yet there's the grounders who are no technology, living tribal? How come they never took them in? Like, I don't know. Like, there's just so much that happened and left open that I just don't know what's gonna happen with next season. But tell me what you think is gonna happen. Like, please let me know. Where do you think this show is going next season? I'm so sad that I started reviewing this with only a few episodes left, but hopefully my next video will be my summer watch list. There are a lot of good shows starting this summer, so hopefully you guys stick around with me and we could talk about some more shows this summer. All right, guys, as they say on the 100, may we meet again.